Have you ever had an itch you just couldn't explain? No rash, no bug bite, no new detergent, just that odd, persistent tingle that doesn't go away no matter what you try. For many older adults, this kind of unexplained itching gets dismissed as nothing more than aging skin or dry air. But what if that itch was something more? What if your body was quietly trying to get your attention? You see, in the world of medicine, we often talk about early cancer signs, but not all of them show up as pain, lumps, or dramatic changes. Some start with subtle, almost invisible symptoms, and sometimes those symptoms begin with your skin. Most people wouldn't connect a lingering itch with something serious. They wait, they treat it with lotion, they ignore it. But time and time again, I've seen how small, overlooked signals can become powerful turning points. And when caught early, they can truly save lives. So today we're going to take a closer look, not to create fear, but to build awareness. Because the more you understand what your body is trying to say, the better prepared you'll be to act on it. If that sounds valuable to you, take a second to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any videos that help you protect your health and the health of those you love. All right, let's begin. Number one, when your lower legs whisper warnings. Most people expect cancer to show up like thunder, a lump, a sharp pain, a dramatic weight loss. But in truth, the body often starts quietly, softly. Sometimes it starts in your legs with an itch. And not just any itch, one that lives low around your shins and calves. No rash, no bug bite, no reason. Just a restless, burning urge to scratch that doesn't quit. I remember a man named Scott, 73, former firefighter. Tough guy, didn't fuss about much. He walked into my office one summer afternoon, wearing cargo shorts, tapping his shin. "It's the damnedest thing, Doc," he muttered. "Been itching here for weeks. Feels like fire under the skin. Lotion don't touch it." I thought it was nerves, but it won't stop. He wasn't exaggerating. The skin looked normal. No irritation, no redness, not even dry patches. But Scott scratched so hard in his sleep, he woke up with little scabs. Now, if you don't know what you're looking for, this could seem like nothing. But in older adults, especially over 60, persistent lower leg itching without skin changes can sometimes be a quiet sign of lymphoma, a type of blood cancer. Let me explain why. Lymphomas affect the lymphatic system, a key part of your immune network. As malignant cells grow, they release cytokines, inflammatory substances that irritate nerve endings beneath the skin. In the legs, where circulation slows with age, these signals tend to gather. And the result? An itch that isn't about the skin at all. It's about what's happening deep inside. In fact, researchers from the Mayo Clinic have long documented cases where unexplained itching preceded a lymphoma diagnosis by months. What makes it tricky is that it doesn't look serious on the surface. There's no lump to feel, no infection to treat, just nerves firing off under the skin. Back to Scott, his itch didn't go away. He came back 6 weeks later, still scratching. That time, I ordered blood work. Elevated white blood cells, abnormal lymphocyte levels. A scan showed swollen nodes deep in his abdomen. Diagnosis, early stage non-Hodgkin lymphoma. He looked at me and said, "You're telling me that damn itch saved my life?" And in a way it did. Now let's be clear, not every leg itch means cancer. Sometimes it really is dry skin. But here's the difference. When moisturizers fail, when it lasts for weeks or months, when it keeps you up at night, and especially if it comes with night sweats, fatigue, or unintentional weight loss, it's time to ask your doctor for a deeper look. Because that persistent itch, it might just be your body's first signal that something's off. So don't dismiss it. Listen, observe, and speak up. If you've ever experienced something like this, or if you're just learning something new today, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your story. And if this kind of content helps you stay informed and ahead of your health, consider subscribing to the channel. It helps us keep creating videos that matter. Number two, the phantom itch between your shoulder blades. If there's one symptom most people never think to link to cancer, it's an itch on their back. Not just anywhere on the back, but that annoying, unreachable spot right between your shoulder blades. Most shrug it off, Must be dry skin, or the tag on that old shirt, or the air's just too dry this time of year. But I want to tell you about Angela. She was 70, widowed, retired school teacher, and fiercely independent. She came into my office for fatigue and routine labs. But near the end of the visit, she casually mentioned this weird itch she'd been dealing with. "It's like something's crawling under my skin," she said, pointing right between her shoulders. "It comes in bones, but it's always there. I've switched laundry soap, got a humidifier, even changed my mattress. Nothing works." Now here's where years of clinical experience come into play. I've seen this pattern before. A focused itch in the upper back, deep under the skin with no rash, no irritation, no allergy trigger. That location isn't random. That itch can, in some case, be your body's early response to a very different problem deep within your abdomen, specifically your pancreas. You might be wondering, how on earth can your pancreas, tucked away behind your stomach, cause your back to itch? The answer lies in bile flow. When tumors begin to form in the pancreas, especially near the head of the gland, they can press against or block the bile ducts. This slows or stops the normal flow of bile, leading to a backup of bile salts into the bloodstream. And one of the earliest signs of this imbalance? Itching. Deep, unrelenting, hard-to-reach itching. Because the upper back is packed with nerve endings, and for reasons that we still don't completely understand, this is one of the first places those bile salts stir up trouble. With Angela, her blood work showed elevated liver enzymes. That raised a red flag. I sent her for imaging. Sure enough, there was a small growth at the head of her pancreas, pressing gently on her bile duct. She had no pain, no jaundice, no appetite changes, just a strange itch in her upper back that wouldn't go away. We caught it early, and it made all the difference. Pancreatic cancer is notoriously silent in its early stages, but the body still tries to speak, just not in ways most people recognize. That's why it's important to know, if you have an itch in your upper back that persists for weeks or months, especially if you also notice darker urine, pale stools, or general fatigue, don't brush it off. It might not be your mattress. It might be your metabolism trying to warn you. Itching alone doesn't mean cancer, but when it's consistent, located deep under the skin, resistant to typical treatments, and paired with other subtle signs, it's time to talk to your doctor. Don't second-guess yourself. Don't wait until symptoms become dramatic. That early whisper could be a lifesaver. If any of this feels familiar, or even just eye-opening, leave a comment below and share your thoughts. And if you're finding value in this kind of honest, medically grounded content, consider subscribing to the channel. Your support helps us reach more people who need this kind of quiet truth. Number 3, when your scalp speaks louder than you think. At first glance, an itchy scalp doesn't sound like a big deal. Most of us have felt it from time to time. Maybe it's the weather, maybe it's the shampoo, maybe the air's too dry. But when the itch lingers, when it's not relieved by dandruff shampoo or scalp oils, and when it starts to feel like it's crawling, tingling, or even burning, it's time to look deeper. I want to tell you about a man named Kevin. He was 72, a quiet guy who spent most of his retirement tending roses and reading history books. He came to see me about feeling more tired than usual, but just before leaving, he casually scratched his head and said, "Doc, it's probably nothing, but my scalp's been itching like crazy. No flakes, no rash, just this weird buzz under the skin. Every afternoon it hits like clockwork." Now, I'd heard this before, not often, but enough to pay attention. A persistent, pattern-like scalp itch that doesn't respond to skincare. It can sometimes be one of the early neurological signs of blood cancers, particularly leukemia, or even an early flag for skin cancer on the scalp, especially in older adults with thinning hair. Let me explain the mechanism. In leukemia, the abnormal growth of white blood cells can interfere with how the immune system regulates inflammation. These rogue cells release certain compounds that irritate nerve endings, not just in the joints or organs, but even in the skin. The scalp, loaded with sensory nerves, becomes a hotspot for these strange signals. You won't always see redness, you won't find a rash, but you'll feel it, deep, itchy, and often mobile, moving from one area to another. It's frustrating because it feels real but looks invisible. For Kevin, nothing worked. He switched shampoos, stopped wearing hats, even trimmed his hair short to let the skin breathe. But the itch persisted. That's when I ordered a full blood panel. His white blood cell count came back high, especially lymphocytes. A few more tests later, we found early-stage chronic lymphocytic leukemia. His only symptom for months? That strange scalp itch. Now, I'm not saying every itchy head means cancer. Most of the time, it's something benign, seborrheic dermatitis, product buildup, even stress. But when an itch is stubborn, when it resists every usual remedy, when it becomes a daily ritual, it may be more than skin deep. And there's another angle. Skin cancers like basal cell carcinoma or squamous cell carcinoma can develop quietly on the scalp, especially in sun-exposed areas. The earliest signs, sometimes nothing more than a small, itchy patch that never heals or keeps returning to the same spot. For those with thinning hair, these areas are especially vulnerable and often overlooked. If you can't see the top of your own head, ask someone you trust, a spouse, a barber, even your grandchild with a phone camera, to take a look. If you notice a spot that's itchy, rough, slightly raised, or just keeps bothering you, get it examined under proper lighting. Dermatologists are trained to spot trouble before it becomes serious. In medicine, we're taught to listen to patients more than textbooks. And when someone says it just won't stop itching, that's worth listening to. The skin might look fine, but the nerves could be telling a different story. If you've ever had an itch like this, or you learned something new today, drop a comment below and tell us about it. And if you're finding these insights helpful, I'd be honored if you hit that subscribe button. It keeps the channel growing and brings these quiet stories to the people who need them most. Number 4, the unspoken message in chest or breast itching. Some symptoms are easy to talk about, others, not so much. And when it comes to persistent itching in the chest or breast area, especially for older adults, it's one of those topics people tend to ignore, dismiss, or explain away. Maybe it's the fabric. Maybe it's the bra. Maybe it's just getting older. That's exactly what Lisa thought. She was 69, a former librarian, still sharp and active in her community garden club. One day during a routine wellness visit, she brought up a strange itch around her right breast. "It's probably nothing," she said. "Just this one spot, right here, just beneath the nipple. I've changed bras, laundry detergent, even stopped wearing one altogether. Still it itches, every day, same place." Now, what caught my attention wasn't just the persistence, it was the pattern. The itch wasn't moving around. It wasn't general irritation. It was focused, stubborn, and unchanged despite everything she tried. And that's the kind of signal that deserves attention. You see, in some cases, persistent, localized itching in the chest or breast area can be an early sign of inflammatory breast cancer or a tumor near the chest wall. What makes this so dangerous is that it often shows up before any lump is detectable. There may be no pain, no visible redness, no typical signs people are told to watch for, just an itch that never quite goes away. Inflammatory breast cancer, in particular, behaves differently from the slow-growing cancers most people know. It can affect the skin before it forms a clear lump. The skin may feel thicker, slightly warmer, or develop a faint reddish hue. But sometimes, just like in Lisa's case, there's nothing to see. Only a feeling, only an itch. When Lisa agreed to further tests, we noticed subtle dimpling of the skin, barely visible, but enough to raise suspicion. A biopsy confirmed what I feared, a small but aggressive tumor close to the surface. The good news? We caught it early. And the only reason we did was because she trusted her instincts and said something. Now here's where I want to make something very clear. This isn't just a women's issue. Men can also develop breast cancer, though it's less common. In older men, an itch or slight discomfort beneath the nipple can be a sign of underlying problems. It might be a skin reaction. But if it keeps coming back to the same spot day after day, it could mean more. And it's not only about breast tissue. Enlarged lymph nodes under the arm or near the collarbone can cause irritation in the chest area, sometimes signaling lymphoma or other internal conditions. The key is this: if an itch keeps returning to the same location, If it doesn't respond to moisturizers, and especially if it's paired with other signs like swelling, warmth, or a subtle heaviness in the chest, don't wait. Don't assume. Get it checked. As physicians, we often remind people that early detection saves lives. But early detection starts with you noticing something different and deciding to speak up. Lisa's story reminds us that even a small, persistent itch can carry a powerful message. If this part of the video struck a chord with you or made you think twice about something you've been ignoring, drop a comment below. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing for more stories that empower and educate. We're here to help you listen when your body tries to speak. Number 5, the itch we're too embarrassed to mention. Let's be honest, there are certain things people just don't like to talk about, especially as we get older. And one of those things is persistent itching in the anal or genital area. It's awkward. It feels too personal. So most folks either brush it off or try to treat it themselves. Creams, ointments, changing soap, switching to softer toilet paper. Sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't. But here's the thing, when that kind of itch won't go away, when it's focused, chronic, and not explained by hygiene, infection, or a clear skin condition, it might be time to ask a different kind of question. I once treated a man named Tyler. He was 76, retired contractor, still built like a brick wall. Tough guy, didn't complain much. But one day he sat across from me and said something that surprised me. "Doc," he said, "I've had this itch back there for almost a year. I thought it was hemorrhoids. Tried creams, changed my diet, sat on ice packs. Nothing's helped. I feel stupid bringing it up, but it's getting worse." That moment mattered because Tyler had done what most people do, assume it's something small, something normal, but it wasn't. When we performed a rectal scope exam, we found a small lesion on the wall of his anal canal. Biopsy confirmed it, early stage anal cancer. Had he stayed silent, it would have kept growing, quietly. Now, I know this is an uncomfortable topic, but persistent itching in the anal or genital area can sometimes be one of the first signs of cancers in that region, anal, vulvar, or even penile cancer. These are rare, but they become more common after 60, and one of the earliest symptoms isn't pain or bleeding. It's itch, deep, raw, burning, often one-sided, and rarely responsive to typical treatment. In women, especially after menopause, vulvar cancer can begin as a slightly discolored, rough patch of skin that itches constantly. But there's no lump, no swelling, just irritation that doesn't go away. Many women chalk it up to hormones or dryness, and yes, sometimes it is. But when weeks turn into months and nothing helps, it's time to investigate further. This region of the body has a dense network of nerves, and it reacts early when something is off. Whether it's cancer cells changing the tissue, inflammation in the nearby lymph nodes, or abnormal cell growth just beneath the surface. The challenge is that people feel embarrassed. They don't want to make a fuss, but silence can be costly. So what should you watch for? If the itching is persistent, if it worsens at night, if there is a burning or tingling feeling, if the skin starts to feel thinner, rougher, or changes color, especially in just one spot, don't ignore it. Tell your doctor. Let them take a look. A 10-minute exam could catch something that might otherwise grow undetected for years. What Tyler taught me and what I hope to pass on to you is this. It's okay to talk about the uncomfortable stuff. You're not being dramatic. You're being proactive. And when it comes to cancer, early is everything. If you've been dealing with something similar or have questions you've been afraid to ask, drop a comment below. No judgment here. And if this kind of information helps you feel more prepared and informed, consider subscribing. You deserve to know the quiet signs before they become loud ones. Final thoughts. When the body whispers, listen. Your body is always speaking to you, not in grand dramatic ways, but through quiet, persistent signals. A restless itch, a patch of skin that won't settle, a strange feeling you can't quite explain. These aren't just inconveniences. Sometimes they're invitations to pay attention, to care more, to catch something before it grows into something harder to fight. As a doctor who's walked alongside thousands of patients through moments of fear, hope, and healing, I can tell you this. The smallest symptom can carry the greatest meaning if we choose to listen. Each of the 5 stories you've heard today started with a whisper, and in every case, it was that whisper that opened the door to early detection and in some cases, a second chance. This isn't about fear, it's about empowerment, knowing your body, trusting your instincts, and believing that you deserve to feel well, to live fully, to ask the hard questions and seek the honest answers. If this video opened your eyes or touched your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Click that like button, subscribe to the channel, and be sure to turn on the notification bell so you never miss an important update from us. This space exists for people like you, curious, thoughtful, and brave enough to care. Thank you for being here today. Truly. And whatever season of life you're in, may you be blessed with clarity, courage, and health. We'll see you in the next video.